Live.
We're live. Welcome, everyone. This is I'm Colin. Well, he's Colin. I'm Ryan.
Nice.
That's a great start there. For those of you who don't know, we're a YouTube channel called Duel of the Fans.
Yep.
So Colin and I are both fans of Star Wars. We bonded over mutual love of the shows and series and everything Star Wars. And we've kind of made it a routine now. We get together and we talk about new Star Wars stuff. And the last 8 weeks, we have been doing a week-by-week review of ACOLYTE.
Yep.
So today's episode is a what is this? We've finished the series. We've had a moment to digest it, and we're kind of trying to fathom all this.
I would say today's episode is fans not being so negative about this show for the first time.
Okay.
There's nothing on the internet positive about this show, or nothing I've seen has been positive
We
about
feel
this
like
show.
the negativity and the poor reviews outweigh everything else, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So
Unwarranted.
on tonight's Duel of the Fans episode, we're going to be discussing why we think the ACOLYTE isn't a perfect show, but is much better than most people have played it up to be.
100%.
So I think a fun way to start. So again, tonight's episode, we want to get engaged with the fans. So if you do not like this show, we want to
Now's the time.
Yeah. If you want to call us names, tell us we're stupid, all that stuff, we want you in the chat.
Yeah.
We want to know why this show is so hated. Not just that it wasn't well received, it's hated.
It's hated.
So I pulled some interesting facts because facts tell a story.
Yep.
And I was going over this with Colin and he couldn't believe this. So the trailer for the ACOLYTE was released on March 20th.
Okay.
Discussing Films
Yep.
had a tweet where they showed that the trailer had 6.5 million views and the like to dislike ratio was 135,000 likes to 162,000 dislikes.
This
And
is just
something
the
like
trailer.
21,000 comments. So yes, it's a trailer.
Yeah.
So to put that in perspective, the Ahsoka teaser had 60 million views.
16?
Yes. So a lot of people were excited for that.
10 million more.
300,000 likes, 40,000 downvotes.
Whoa.
So pretty positive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Ahsoka trailer, so not the teaser, had 9 million views, so pretty close to ACOLYTE. And I don't know how long they had been out when I pulled these stats.
Yep.
But at the 9 million, it had 178,000 likes and 28,000 downvotes. So still very positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what it feels like is people wanted to hate this show before the show even came out.
Yes. So the last one I pulled up for the ACOLYTE, the most up-to-date one after discussing films, was 8.3 million views.
Yep.
166,000 upvotes, so close to Ahsoka, but 377,000 downvotes. So the Ahsoka trailer had 206,000 votes.
Yep.
The ACOLYTE had over 500,000.
And they were
Majority
were down.
So there was more people that downvoted the ACOLYTE trailer than even liked or disliked the Ahsoka trailer.
Yeah.
So I think this show, and this is not, I'm not a overly smart person, as you guys will tell, because I like the show. No, I feel like this show was crippled coming out of the gate.
Yeah. So this show had a really bad rap. Disney, as we all have known, has been really pushing movements lately. And I feel like everybody talked about this show was going to be very heavily pushed in a woke movement, and people weren't happy about it to begin with, and to me, it seems like people just didn't want to give it the chance.
So I want to address what you're saying there, because this is a big one.
Yeah.
Woke movement. We hear this a lot. Me personally, I don't think Disney is driven by a woke movement. They're driven by profit.
Yeah.
So their woke movement, like having a female character, may not be because it's a woke agenda, is because maybe they're trying to appeal to a female viewer.
Yeah.
Because there's enough bloody male viewers that maybe they're like, hey, let's put some stronger female that other viewers can attach themselves to.
Yeah.
So I don't, a lot of the rhetoric is like woke agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it goes back to episode 3.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was woke.
No.
I didn't think they were forcing anything down our throat.
I watched the episode, and then right after, I was watching some very famous YouTubers' reactions and everything, and it was the lesbian witch coven that created these deities in the forest. And I'm like, well, that's not really what happened at all. Like, all the witches on Dathomir were female, but they weren't lesbians. Like, we didn't get any implication.
They were witches. They were.
The one girl touched the other girl's face, but that's not in any way, shape, or form implying that they're doing lesbian actions on camera, or you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't pushed. It didn't feel that way, and I feel like if you felt that, then you're grabbing at something to hate.
I think that's a great point that you make, and I kind of made a note later that I think people are actively going out of their way to misconstrue things. Like, they're actively being like, well, this is an agenda and this is that.
Yeah.
Can we just take it as a story?
Yeah.
It was written by a female writer, so she obviously has a better ability to write female characters than a male writer does.
Yeah.
So it's a female-driven story with like a female coven and a female lead. There were still really good male characters.
Yeah. Look at Chimere.
Well, so a big thing that everyone talks about is Chimere didn't have to get naked and didn't have to do this and that. Didn't have to. Leia is in a metal bikini.
Sure.
For like some of the most iconic scenes, and like.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just a different perspective. I'm not watching the show to see Chimere get naked in the pool, but the girls might be. They might love that scene, right? Because the guys love the Slave Leia scene. The guys love Padme in her tight white outfit on Geonosis. Like, it's for both audiences.
And I like it that, to me, there was more than just Chimere being naked, because we also saw Yord shirtless at one point.
Yeah.
And Osha is the one who is in both those scenes. So she like comes across a Jedi kind of partially, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm just out of my robe, and there's no sexual tension whatsoever. And then she comes across Chimere, and the whole thing is he's trying to bring her to the dark side.
Yeah.
He's trying to lure her over. So why wouldn't you use something,
of course,
physical like that? You know what I mean?
Definitely. We've got 5 watching here. I want to know who's in the chat. I want to know what your thoughts are on the Acolyte. We're here to talk with you guys, so make sure you...
We talk plenty. Colin and I talk all the time.
Make sure you chime in and let us know what you're thinking, because we want to debate, and we want to see if you like it or hate it, or if you're on bandwagon with the other Star Wars YouTubers that just say things and don't fully mean them.
And I feel like, we talked about this week to week. A lot of the rhetoric that I was seeing was like the same thing. It was the same wording from one reviewer to the next.
Yep.
And it was like, there are some massive YouTubers out there that did not like this.
Yeah.
Not to name drop, but like Moist Critical is a massive YouTuber. He kind of thrives off drama. And it's nothing against him. Like, he's super successful. He's super entertaining. But his videos are always about like, oh, something's gone on, and something's like... So I know he was poo-pooing the Acolyte.
Sure.
And I heard a lot of other serious reviewers who their job is not just to talk whatever's on YouTube or whatever's that review TVs and movies and shows. And a lot of them were saying, like, how can people have a definitive answer on this show when we're 1 or 2 episodes in?
Yeah.
Like, this is the biggest pile of...
Well, they had an answer on the show clearly by the trailer.
By the trailer.
They didn't even give it a chance.
So I was not able to pull the exact stats, but the Nielsen's rating is a merit of how many people watch the shows, of how many people watch shows. The Acolyte for the season finale fell out of their top 10. So during the run of it, the Acolyte was up there. Wasn't like the highest rated show. Like, it was beneath The Boys and stuff.
Sure.
But by the tail end, they weren't even in the top 10. So it means not a lot of people were watching the show. But it feels like more people are just talking about how negative it is than actually watching it and having constructive criticism. You and I did not finish Bad Batch Season 3.
Yep.
Just be at a time in our life, what was going on. We just couldn't get into it. We just could not sit down and enjoy it. I don't think it's the biggest piece of shit ever.
No.
I just didn't engage with me.
Yeah.
I didn't review bomb it in like 1 star whatsoever.
Yeah.
We did a few episodes where we had reviewed it post, and like, we made some funny comments and stuff, and like, it didn't bother me that I didn't enjoy it. I just walked away from it.
Yeah. Where this show it feels like been the last straw for a lot of Star Wars fans, which I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans have also been saying since Disney took over. A lot of Star Wars fans are not forming their own opinions, and I'm just hearing... So I do conventions, right? Do the toy store, we sell lightsabers, all that. I do all conventions all across Canada. And I talk to a lot of fans. And a lot of fans don't have their own opinion. they follow, like you said, word by word, these Star Wars YouTubers' opinions and thoughts and reviews, and they share the same feelings, I feel like, because, okay, so I was a massive fan of a big Star Wars YouTuber, and I kind of...
A theory guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I kind of really enjoyed all his content before, and the way that he felt about the sequels, I felt about the sequels. The way he felt about the prequels, I felt about the prequels. So I kind of bonded with him there. But then as time's gone on, I've less and less been able to feel like I'm watching someone who I share opinions with. I feel like he's the exact opposite of what we need in the Star Wars community, where when I fell in love with his channel, he was exactly what the Star Wars community needed.
It was a lot of lore and story building and fun and getting people involved.
It was fun, dude.
Okay.
It was so fun as hell.
I had a chance to watch some of his stuff.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
No.
And
it's negative.
No matter how bad the show is, there are redeeming features in it.
Yeah.
If you can't find something to be like, yeah, that was okay, or that's good, you're just solely focused on, man, this sucks, and nothing's ever going to be good. So, really quick here. We talked about the Rotten Tomatoes. So it has, we'll jump into the comment real quick, but the ACOLYTE has an 80% critic rating and a 17% audience rating. Okay?
That's insane.
So how it works is if you vote it, I think, over 5 out of 10, that's a fresh rating, so that goes towards the positivity. So this 17% means a lot of people were voting it 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. The majority are 1 stars. A 1-star TV show is something that someone fills on a cell phone with zero quality, zero effort, nothing. There are no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
The whole thing was terrible.
It is literally a video of someone beating up your parents on their cell phone. And you're like, there's nothing redeeming in this. Okay? 17% doesn't seem like a natural score. So then we broke it down by episode. The critics, episode 1, 92%. Episode 2, 92%. Episode 3, 88. 80%. 88. 88. The second last episode has 50%, and the finale has 76. So I will agree that, yeah, the penultimate episode that was like the reveal of everything was a little weak.
Mm-hmm.
There were still some cool moments in it.
Yeah.
There were some really cool Jedi, like, lightsaber fights, but it was weak.
Yeah.
So that's a valid, like, yeah, it didn't stick the landing, but it had some good moments. I feel like the audience is it's just 1-star review and everything. So let's look at Book of Boba Fett. That is a 66% critic rating and a 49% audience rating. So almost half of the viewers enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not taking away from that, but I hear people complaining about the ACOLYTE, ruins the lore, destroys this. I mean, Boba Fett spit in the face of every single fan who has ever liked Boba Fett.
Yep.
But they had no problem with it. It still gets a 49%.
Well, people did have a problem with Boba Fett, but definitely not like this show. Like, I like what you said, like, 35 seconds ago. This, people said that this, like, ruined canon. This destroyed the lore. This ruined Plagueis. This ruined Anakin. This ruined lightsabers. This ruined Star Wars as a whole, which is total BS. 110% total BS. Let's cover these.
Let's get into the comments here.
Queen Fireheart said, do you think that Star Wars has been so niche for so long that when shows are made for the typical fan, the old boys club are viewed as an affront to the true Star Wars fans? I really like that comment. I really like that comment because I think
Disney made 3 Star Wars sequels for fans.
Yep.
The Force Awakens was a remake of New Hope.
Yep.
The Last Jedi was trying to subvert expectations with Luke Skywalker, and Rise of Skywalker tried to... It was not well received.
Yeah.
They're not great movies.
Yeah.
Mandalorian is Disney. That's some of the best Star Wars we've seen in ages. Grogu is a small infant that, like, people attach themselves to.
Mm-hmm.
The most manly of man, the most feminine women like Grogu.
Yeah.
Like, that was a over-encompassing thing. So I think she says here, the typical fan, the old boys club. Yeah.
So, for not the typical fan. So, that's another thing. Like, Star Wars has always been a kid's show. George has said it since
It was made
day
for 8
one.
to 12-year-olds.
It was made for kids, right? And kids are getting into Star Wars with these new shows. Kids got into Star Wars with the sequels. There's a whole generation that we are the old boys club in 10 years, right? We are the ones that go, yeah, the sequels suck now, but the fans in 10 years that grew up with the sequels that love those characters are going to have memes, backlash. Yeah, of course. And I totally get what that comment is saying. Like, yeah, we are the old boys club because we're the dedicated fans. And then she also says it's not being a bad thing being the old boys club. That's just how it is. But the new fans, we do need new fans because new fans are what drive us to keep making Star Wars content. That's why Disney bought Star Wars, was to make money and get new fans, right?
Yep.
So
it's a business.
Exactly.
Anyone who runs a business, you want more.
The more fans, the more money going into Disney's pocket, the more money Disney's going to spend on Star Wars. More fans is not a bad thing, and you don't have to like every single piece of Star Wars content that comes out as a Star Wars fan. That's just unrealistic.
We've talked about that.
That's like saying that you have to like every single part of a series, which is also unrealistic. It's like there's amazing parts of the ACOLYTE, and I thought the show as a whole was absolutely phenomenal. But there's a few parts throughout where I'm like, that really sucked. That really sucked.
You know what? So one thing that I did say, and we'll talk about later, it feels like the ACOLYTE was a first draft.
Yep.
So we're going to break down...
First draft for what?
Of the story. I feel like the ACOLYTE, the show itself, could have been refined a little bit more. A little bit more polish, a little bit more attention to some of the writing.
Yeah.
And I think it could have tied together very well.
Yeah.
I think that it was a good story. It was a fun story. It was a story that involved characters we've never seen before, so you didn't have to know Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could start watching this show, have zero background knowledge, and you're going to pick up everything you need to know. Jedi, Sith, and the story was just a murder mystery, whodunit.
Yeah.
When you break it down, and those are fun stories.
Yeah.
Whodunit? Who's killing the Jedi? We'll talk about it later. I think that maybe the direction and pacing was a little off. You could do things differently, like maybe not have the reveal that May and Osha both exist right away. So there's two of them. You could have kind of played it up that maybe do we not trust Osha a little bit more and build that uncertainty? Because then at the end, when she becomes a Sith, you're like, oh, well, I was already thinking that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Immediately we get a flashback and we see it. So that direction could have been a little different.
So we're going to finish reading Queen Fireheart's comments here. For example, more shows are being made that aren't for everyday Star Wars fans. And every show doesn't have to be for you. Bad Batch wasn't for you. Andor wasn't made for Colin. And Mando was made for the general public. That is 110% true.
I read a comment that Andor is the most adult-oriented child show because Star Wars is a child, but Andor deals with adult themes. And I think that's why it was so well received because it's fans that are growing up.
I'm just not mature enough to understand it.
That's all right. You'll get there.
Yeah. But the boys club not being said in a bad way, it's just how it is. Doesn't like the show, isn't for them. Exactly, you don't have to like every piece of content. And then M999 said, yeah, good point. Not everything is for everyone. They make a wide variety of shows and series, so there's something for everyone.
Those are great points.
Yep.
They're business.
I didn't watch Resistance. Obviously not. It's not for me, right? I didn't watch Young Jedi Adventures. It's not for me.
Oh, man, that's some of the best Star Wars content.
I tried to watch Visions. I don't like anime. It's not for me. I don't need to enjoy every piece of Star Wars content. I like the comics. I don't enjoy reading, so I don't read a lot of the books. Yeah. I love the audiobooks, but I'm not going to go out there and listen to an audiobook of every Star Wars book ever made because it's not my thing.
And let's be honest, some of those that are now Legends books have some bad, crazy stuff that breaks lore.
Yeah.
But everyone's fine with that because it doesn't exist.
I feel like if George made this show, people wouldn't hate it.
But would he have made this?
I said that wrong. I feel like if George made this show exactly how it was made, people wouldn't hate it.
So if it was his name on it.
It wasn't Leslie Headland. So and it wasn't being crapped on by everybody ever because it wasn't Leslie Headland. Everybody's crapping on it from before the trailer because of Leslie Headland, who clearly did a decent job. And nobody was even ready to give it a chance.
And I think that's what it is. It's like from the trailer, you don't know the entire premise of the story, and trailers can be very different, but it just seemed like everyone in with this like, I hate this.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some of the coolest stuff in Star Wars we've seen in years. We got Cortosis on the screen.
Absolutely loved it. It was done amazingly, I feel.
We got, I'm sorry, controversial take, the best lightsaber combat we've seen in like...
Since the prequels.
A decade? Like, at least. Come on, tell me where you're going to have better fight choreography than hand-to-hand, mixed with lightsaber, mixed, like, amazing stunts, like a weapon that disables the lightsaber. So now we're introducing things that we haven't seen before. That was great.
That was amazing.
I could watch a supercut of the fights all day long. Even when you and I were crapping all over Kelnaka and Torben's face and stuff, like, still cool.
Yeah.
But everyone losing their mind over not seeing a Wookiee Jedi in action. We did.
Yeah.
No one else had a lightsaber in the universe.
Yeah.
So who would this Wookiee Jedi be fighting that would be cool? Let's make him fight Jedi.
Yeah.
That was a decent way to kind of put it together.
And it's scary, too. You see him, like, jumping over the thing with his lightsaber coming down and just going right through the block.
Wookiee that has gone completely primal.
We've got Your Candy Daddy said, I don't know, people hated the prequels.
I love that name. Yes, Your Candy Daddy, people didn't hate the prequels.
Yep.
But they've learned to love them afterwards. People regard Revenge of the Sith as like one of the best Star Wars movies.
Queen Fireheart said, "You're telling me you didn't watch the Young Jedi Adventures? Was it good? Should we do a review?" Then Queen Fireheart said, "Your Candy Daddy. I was a child, but the people who hated the sequels were the old boys club, weren't they? Or the prequels? Yeah, they definitely were at the time, and that's what.
Look at the movie fanboys.
Yeah,
isn't that an exact like they're adults? They go to watch this kids movie, and the joke is at the very end, they're like, "What happens if it's a bad movie?"
Yeah,
you're watching a kids movie.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you expect, Citizen Kane? Like,
so Queen Fireheart, did you like the Acolyte? M999, did you like the Acolyte? And Your Candy Daddy, did you like the Acolyte?
Yes.
I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the Acolyte.
And if you did, just give me a rating out of 10. Very simple. It's a 4 out of 10. It's a 5 out of 10. It's a 6 out of 10. It's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not a 1 out of 10, which everyone's been saying.
Your Candy Daddy says Star Wars was a boy brand, though. But I feel you're wrong there. I think it was a kids brand, and it was all inclusive to everybody.
I think I get what he's saying. That it was
more boy oriented.
Yes,
sure.
More like the action figures were to like compete with like Polly Pocket and Barbie and stuff. But you had strong female characters like Leia, who is one of the best characters in all of cinema that you could attach and identify with. She was not a damsel in distress. She was a kick-ass, solving problems, leader of the rebellion hero.
I get what he's saying, where it was more oriented towards boys, sure, but I do feel like it was an all-encompassing show because, we had strong female leads. We had great story. It was like a love story, an action-packed. It's like The Princess Bride, right, where it's got absolutely everything you could want packed into one set. And Star Wars had that too. It had something for everybody to enjoy, and there's tons of Star Wars fans that are older and female. Tons of them.
I know, again, this is just, I'm talking within my group, but you and I, our partners, both watched it with us.
Yeah.
They both enjoyed it. And they don't watch a lot of Star Wars. Your girlfriend, my girlfriend have seen the stuff, but they're not diehard fans, but they're like, this was good.
Yep.
I had a friend of mine that reached out to me that his wife, who has never seen a Star Wars movie, just put on the Acolyte, just for fun.
Yeah.
Watched the first episode, and what she said was, I like this. I'll watch the next one. That's what you wanted of a show.
That's exactly what you want.
You don't need to have the background information on anyone. You can sit down and be like, great, I'm getting everything episode 1. I can make up my mind. Cool, it's an interesting story.
Yep.
So, for all the haters, I want to bring this one out. I kind of thought about this. What is the Acolyte? So the description is a former Padawan reunites with her master to investigate a series of crimes, but discovers the forces they confront are more sinister. It's a whodunit movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else is a whodunit movie? Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Whodunit?
Yeah.
Who tried to assassinate Padme?
Yeah.
Who's all this? It's a reveal of...
So do Star Wars fans just not like murder mysteries then?
Right?
People hated on Attack of the Clones too.
Right? I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't want to say too complex or too intricate, but maybe it's too much of a complex story in this universe.
Yeah.
Maybe they want more simple, good versus bad.
But I feel like it has complexity, and then it also has... So that's one thing I think Leslie absolutely kicked ass at, was catering to new fans, like your friend's wife, and then diehard fans, like us, with Cortosis and Plagueis and lightsaber bleeding, amazing combat. That would go both ways. That's all for us.
Right? So let's talk about Plagueis real quick, because that's a great point you brought up. A lot of people on the internet are adamantly that, that's the stupidest thing ever. And one of the biggest YouTubers out there is oh, this is stupid. what are the Sith doing hiding in caves?
No.
Sorry, what do you say?
You got to get the wording right because it makes all the difference. He says, Plagueis should not be a bitch. He should not be sitting there hiding in the shadows. What are Sith doing for the past 1,000 years?
There are 2 of them. There are thousands of Jedi.
They're hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, doesn't matter how strong you are. They don't win by being out there and making physical confrontation. They win by doing things behind the scenes and controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
So, as a fan who knows Star Wars, we saw that. I've never seen you light up as happy as you were.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit, that's Plagueis.
Yeah.
And we saw him for 10 seconds.
If that.
You knew who he was.
Yeah.
And it satisfied you as a fan because it fills in all these holes. You understand it all. And you can start piecing together that, like, well, Plagueis and Palpatine were messing with the Force.
Yep.
That's the interest in the Covenant. It's all coming together.
Yep.
For an outside fan, there's a malevolent force that we haven't seen before. So we know Kamir is is he a master? Is he not? All of a sudden you see something lurking in the shadows. It's very easy to tell that when something's lurking in the shadows, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
This is a bad guy.
Yeah.
We don't need to see fully what he looks like. We know he's an alien. He's hiding in the shadows. He's watching from the shadows. It literally could not write itself anymore.
Yeah.
He's watching from the shadows as everything plays out.
I feel like if we got anything more, it would have been a bad thing.
Right?
Like, it was done too well.
We didn't need Plagueis. We had Kamir. So let's read some more comments here, guys.
You want to read starting there?
Jar Jar is whack, right? 100%. Everyone genuinely did not like Jar Jar.
Yep.
And look at all the hate that Ahmed Best took.
Mm-hmm.
Almost killed himself, like all this stuff. And like, now
we need to stop just being such a toxic fan base. It drives me absolutely nuts.
He's back in was it Mandalorian or Kenobi that he was
Kenobi.
in? He was in Kenobi as a Jedi, and people were like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yep. It's because the people that said this is the coolest thing ever were the
ones that were crapping on him. Also, he's in Young Jedi Adventures. No, he's in another show, but it's like cool that they're bringing him out. So yes, Jar Jar is whack. Let's see here. No, it was bad. 2 at best.
Can we elaborate? Oh, maybe we'll get there.
And that's fair. So a 2 is better than a 1. So Candy at least is saying here that there's something that I enjoyed that made it not a 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you're entitled to your opinion. If you didn't like the show, you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel anything. You're allowed to. Just like if someone likes the show, you don't take it away from them.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, it didn't connect with me, just like us.
Sure.
But just being like it's a 1 out of 10, it's actual shit, it's garbage, and then telling everyone else now you're stupid, that's like so negative.
Yeah.
You know? Queen Fireheart gave a 7.5 out of 10. So that's a good show.
Yeah.
That's a show that keeps you entertained week to week. You're coming back.
Yep.
You're asking questions. You're invested. You know? And yeah, it was good.
What would you rate this show out of 10, Ryan?
I think I'd be close to Fireheart. Maybe a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I think that
I was going to say 7.5 to 8. So we're rating that.
We're like, I really like some of the elements, but just don't think it's stuck the
landing.
And
people are going to hate me for this, but this was probably my favorite Star Wars show that Disney's made.
Now, let's talk about this, because we talked about it earlier.
Wait, we're missing a bunch of comments.
We're involved with you guys, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, yeah, it was decent. Didn't always go where I was hoping. Didn't love the end, where they just trade places, basically, but overall good.
Okay, so that's a great point.
Yeah, it is.
Em is making some really valid comments. I didn't like the ending. It was silly. It was silly.
Yep.
The mind wipe, if you guys had seen the live screening, he got super excited when Plagueis came on screen. The second Kinnear said mind wipe, I'm pretty sure my neighbors heard me say, what the f***? Like,
yeah, 100%.
That was bad. The ending didn't stick. But you could, that's a valid, it was decent.
The ending was definitely, so the last, 10 minutes of the show, I feel like, were the weakest part of the show overall.
Right?
Which is kind of unfortunate, because it's like the wrap-up and the finale, but you can't hate a show because the last 10 minutes were terrible, you know? At least I wouldn't.
Okay, great example, just really quick here. There's a movie called The Mist. Spoiler alert. It's based off a Stephen King novel.
Love that movie.
The movie ends with a very
Do you not like that ending?
Shocking scene, but it's not the book scene.
Okay.
The book ends ambiguously. They're leaving notes. The whole story is them written on notes, and it just ends because they write it on paper or whatever it is.
Oh no.
That movie ending is I'm getting chills.
Dude, it's one of the best endings ever.
And it doesn't take away from the movie.
No.
It adds this more complexity, like, oh crap, not everything goes the way you want.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Here.
Jar Jar, yeah.
And then...
Has room for improvement, but I love the martial arts. I love where the story can go. I also love the comment about how the Jedi tried to control something they can't, being emotions and not the Force. That was a great line. So
that guy came in with fire. That was so good.
So this show, and we talked about it. So I used a quote from Screen Rant. Screen Rant pulled some stuff. Jackie warns about the dangers of nostalgia in the ACOLYTE, challenging the way the Jedi of detaching from the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's like us. They're trying to say like you can't be tied to what happens in the. Master Saul recognizes the importance of reflection, using nostalgia as a tool for learning and growth. At the beginning, when he's training the Padawan, he's trying, like all those young kids, he's trying to teach them from his mistakes.
Yeah,
he's a flawed character.
I like that.
Okay, and so it sets a new path for Star Wars by acknowledging the past. So it acknowledges the past, but not getting stuck in nostalgic traps. So it was a different take on stuff. The last time we did a different take on stuff was like The Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi, and like
didn't go so well.
Yeah.
So Candy said they make the Jedi incompetent. They introduce Yoda at the end. Just said the hell with the lore.
So what I like, the Jedi are inherently flawed, and this is coming from someone who loves the Jedi. I cosplay as Obi-Wan. I understand that. The Jedi come from an inherently flawed system. It is white and it's light and dark, good and bad,
yin and yang.
But it's not like that. You know what I mean? Because the light creates the dark. And we learned later in Legends, like Abeloth, there is always a light and dark. There's always supposed to be these like two sides. The Jedi are supposed to be this like all-powerful, like they talk, like this policing force that has no back, no check.
They're the heroes of the galaxy.
Right? So inherently, like, I don't want to get political with this, but like, we don't live in the States, but we always hear about police shootings in the States.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like the police are supposed to be a system for good and for upholding all this stuff, but there are flaws within the system. There are flaws within people. And that's what I liked within the show, that we saw Master Saul, and he's as wise as all the Jedi, but inherently, this was all his fault.
Yeah.
He had blinders on that he wanted her as a Padawan so bad, he was willing to do anything. He made a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing is too, so no character from any show that you love, I love, fans love, is perfect. The whole reason of enjoying characters is they have flaws, and they work through it. That's the point of the story, right? And the Jedi are not made to be incompetent here, I don't think at all. I think
they're flawed.
I think everybody underestimates the power of a Sith, okay? 8 Jedi should be no match for the Sith. They should not be a match for the Sith. The Jedi have not fought a Sith in 800, 900 years at this point. They have no training against anyone with that kind of level of power or lightsaber training. Yoda even says it. He goes, his movements are so erratic, I've never seen anything like it.
Because they train against themselves in styles.
Yeah.
He was fighting. He was like a caged animal.
It's like...
he was brutal.
It's like you hear this all the time where like the katas and stuff from like karate won't put up in like a regular fight. That's why we have UFC, right? Because people were like, karate's the baddest. And everyone was like, no, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they said, we'll put them together and see what happens, right? Because your practical may not always work in a sense where you're not going up against someone that's using the same thing as you. So I don't think the Jedi are incompetent. I think they're just overwhelmed and they don't understand what they're getting themselves into at this point. Yoda, I totally agree. That was kind of dumb. It was cool to see him in the series, but I don't know where they're going to go with that. Mind you, I've been saying this since the beginning. You can't judge a show until it's over. Yeah. Right? You shouldn't have been shitting on episode 1 because we don't have episode 8, so we don't know what it's going to be. Yeah. We don't know if episode 1, it may not mean anything at the time, but it might have a lot more meaning. Episode 1 may have been written poorly or done just to be like a verse. So you can't really, like, we don't know where this Yoda thing's going. And I feel like until the season 2, we can't, like, Yoda, and I saw a fan-made poster, Yoda and Plagueis, the 2 big main characters, and then Venestra and Chimere are, like, the 2, boom! That seems like an amazing show! Like, I get it, it's gonna mess with the lore a little bit, but I feel like those cameos did mess with the lore. We didn't need Ki-Adi-Mundi. No, we didn't. And we didn't need Yoda. We didn't, but Kenobi, everyone thought Kenobi was gonna ruin their meeting again in episode 4, and they did a pretty damn good job of making sure it didn't ruin the meeting again.
I'll give you that. I feel like certain things that, aren't liked are fair. Like, the Yoda didn't do anything.
It didn't.
Okay, like that was, the Plagueis cameo was as long as Yoda or short or whatever it was more impactful. The Yoda didn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't need to see it in that aspect. We could have, what would have been a cool scene instead of that? If she was talking to Yoda in a previous episode, but being very ambiguous about, like, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving you all the details because I don't want anyone to know. I need your help. And you could have just very quickly had Yoda give some words of wisdom that he's really smart, that he knows what's going on. But he's like
he does with Anakin.
Right?
That'd been cool.
That's better than just an earshot, like, you know what I mean?
Okay, we need to rattle through some comments. We're a little behind. Right. The show def did a good job playing on who's really the good Jedi. Fans.
So they're showing you that, like, within the Jedi Order there are flaws. Like, what was that Venestra's apprentice, Mog or something? Oh, it's frozen. I don't know.
No way.
If you can still see but can't hear, we'll be right back.
We still have people commenting.
All right. So, well, maybe they can hear us.
Do you want to read through some of the comments?
Yes,
I'm going to see if we can get this back up.
So, hiding the Trish. Yes. So, I think the Jedi Order is meant to do good, and we see that in characters like Obi-Wan, where they are, like, inherently doing positive, and they're trying to be, but the Order itself is flawed. It's just like we saw in the prequels. They rescue Anakin, but they leave all the slaves on Tatooine and leave his mother.
Yeah.
They're not a great organization. They're trying to do good, but they're inherently flawed. The second it involves politics, too, which we see. The second that they're being governed or being controlled, it's like, I hate to go to another movie, the Avengers and, like, the Sokovia Accords. They always said, like, well, no, if we're being controlled by a government, we can't do what we feel is right. So then I hit here, but good guys are still flawed, make mistakes, which is the point, Senator. Absolutely.
100%. Well said, Queen Fireheart. M said truth, hiding the truth. What happened for so long? Saul's fixation on OSHA. He def was looking into his own interest more than
100%.
Yeah.
So when we were watching with the four of us, I think your girlfriend of mine had said Saul was creepy, and I was like, no, he's just trying to help this girl. And then rewatching that scene later, I was like, no, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's forcing
his own. Yeah.
Which he thinks is better because he's a Jedi, so he knows better. He's putting it upon her. Now, here's the difference. The only master in that was Indara, was she not? Everyone else was a knight at that time. I believe
so, yeah.
So she was the wisest of all of them and seemed like a hard ass because she knew. She's like, Saul.
She was following that, yeah.
You're thinking with your emotions and not your...
I like this where we get to see the flaws in the Jedi, though. I do enjoy it. Like, I feel like that's why we like Anakin so much, is because he's not perfect, right? That's why we like everybody in any series, is because they're not perfect, right? Spider-Man goes through that. Captain America goes through that. Iron Man goes through that.
If you have a perfect character, they're not fun to watch.
They're not fun to watch. No, you're right. I like what you did there.
Even Obi-Wan is what we'd say like a perfect Jedi, but he's still not a perfect character.
Yep.
His inability to kill Anakin after everything Anakin has done leads to Vader's control in the Empire. You know what I mean?
Candy said, I like the fights, but the story was so rough. A lot of useless filler.
Katie, I completely agree. So a big thing that I felt that this story, and Colin's not in the same boat, I feel like the pacing was off. It was done like a TV show, so every episode we had to have like a little something, a little hook, a little bit of action, and then something to keep you watching for the next time. Where I feel like if it was just a condensed movie and we cut out all that filler, like Basil, the Great Mouse Detective, can go.
Yep.
You can do the flashbacks in one shot. You didn't need multiple flashbacks. You didn't, like, if that's the way you're setting it up. You could have cut out a ton of filler with just little scenes, like 20 minutes here of them on a ship, 10 minutes here of them talking to the Coven. You could have really tightened it up. You could have just really condensed it and had good fight scenes. A good fight scene in the middle. So you start the movie with the fight scene, the Indara one. Your middle act is the Jedi getting slaughtered on Fandor or whatever it is.
Brendok.
Was it Brenda? No,
Kofar.
Kofar, that's it. They got slaughtered in Kofar. And then your final fight, the end of the movie, is the fight on Brendok.
See, but I feel like, okay, Basil definitely could have been taken out. That was kind of dumb. But I feel like this is also the point of the TV show. Like, if you want to watch a martial arts movie, you go watch a martial arts movie. If you want to watch a Star Wars fight scene, then put on YouTube the Star Wars fight scene. Yep. This is an all-encompassing show. So we do need those moments of kind of downtime to build up the up scenes.
Listen,
right?
I completely agree.
Yin and yang. There has to be...
Because if it's all action, then it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. You need to have, and I'm not saying Basil, you need to have conversation because that's what builds the story. You need to have
conversation explanation. It's like, I didn't like how many times did Saul try and explain the history to Mayor Osha, and then it's like a fade to black or something.
The only time it felt weird was when she tased him.
Okay, I was just going to say, so she breaks out, that whole robot stuff being sprayed in the face, cut all that out, she breaks out, she tases him, gets in a ship, and they run to a planet.
Yeah.
Get rid of all that and just have a reason. Or, here's another great one. Don't show the scene of May and Osha switching places.
What do you mean?
So at the end of the penultimate episode, May gets knocked out, or whatever, May gets knocked out.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Don't show us that.
Yeah, let us think, and yeah, sure.
Don't show us that they've switched. He still calls her May. He still thinks. Don't have Basil do anything. And have it kind of like, that there's something else going on there. And maybe she doesn't need to steal the ship. Maybe he just takes her there. Like, you write it better so it just flows into, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The asteroid chase scene, unnecessary. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Didn't really...
It was cool, though.
Yeah, it wasn't, but the pacing was off. So, okay, let's get back to comics.
Okay, we're gonna catch up, and then we're gonna talk about them all once we get to the bottom. Let's start here.
They use the Force a decent amount of compared to the last few shows we put out. I think there's a bad ending to a book or show. It can definitely taint the way you look back. Okay, so two things. Love the Force, that we saw more Force foo. We saw more Force action. Love all that. The bad story. Yes,
But it wasn't a bad story.
But I get what they're saying. So you could read a book, you get through 200 pages, and the last 10 pages, something happens. I feel like most stories that I've read or something where like I didn't enjoy the ending, I don't think it took away from the story as much as, maybe, I wanted there to be a happy ending. Mm-hmm. But there's not a happy ending. Things change, or maybe I don't agree with that. But this is what the story is telling you.
Yeah.
That not everything is peachy and great, and it's all going to end in rainbows and sunshine. You know what I mean?
I also don't think this is the ending, though. This isn't the ending. We need a season 2, right? Like,
do we?
Yeah, we do.
I don't. We think do. The fans want it.
Well, then they're not going to get their full story, and they don't know the ending.
Fair enough. I like these comments.
Candy says the ending of Game of Thrones doesn't ruin the show.
Okay.
Everyone talks about this, but I've never seen it.
Let's take this back. That's a phenomenal point. That show in the last 2 seasons, you could argue the last 3 seasons, actively undid the show prior to it. So the show in Game of Thrones for 6 seasons builds up this fear of, they're called White Walkers. They're like zombies. So there's all this stuff happening in the show. There's all these factions fighting, but there's this overarching fear of these zombies.
Okay.
And they're absolutely right. In the final season, it's resolved in 1 episode. And it's one of the least rated episodes, the lowest rated episodes. Absolutely. So I apologize. I agree. In that instance, that is such a poor ending that took away from it. But that wasn't just one season. That was 2 seasons that sucked that took away from 6 good ones. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of goodwill built up.
There was a lot more time and dedication put into watching that show.
This is really funny. The guys who wrote the show did a really poor job in the last 2 seasons because they were trying to get into their Star Wars contract. Because they had a contract to produce the next 3 movies. So they raced things. So absolutely, you've made a fantastic point that, Game of Thrones. Okay, all right. So I'll give you that. Okay, I am picturing the writer in a room with a Disney executive saying, we didn't need Yoda to show up at the end. Okay, that's a great point. I do feel like this Disney stuff is still done by committee. So it's still like, okay, we need to have a cute creature. So we had those little those little aquatic creatures that were on the planet. We need to have a fuzzy sort of sidekick.
Yep.
Basil.
Yep.
Don't know why he was there, but
it's because Grogu did so well. The ratio of good to bad was way different, though. That's what we were just talking about. Yeah, so 8 seasons versus 1 season.
That's perfect.
I'm picturing the writer in a room with a Disney exec saying, "We don't need Yoda to show up," and the exec saying, "Come on, they loved when Luke showed up." That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. They never used the Force when they needed to. I don't know, man. I feel like Soul saved his life when he blasted Chimera away with the Force. That was a pretty good one.
Okay, this goes to a thing with the Force, because we've talked about this. How is it that a trained Jedi Master like Obi-Wan can get Force pushed back? Everyone controls the Force. It's an all-encompassing power. You tap into it to use something. Your opponent can get you when you're unprepared, when you're unguarded. I feel like the Force was used great. Like when Kamir uses that Force blast, he like throws Ocean Side gently, but then does a massive blast that leaves like a hand imprint out.
Yeah,
that's great.
I love.
I think a lot of times the Jedi can't react fast enough. Like Indara was trying to use just combat. She was maybe a little bit like, she could have Force choked May or thrown her off or something.
But she wasn't overdoing it because she was also a Jedi trying not to kill someone.
Yeah, right? So Jedi don't want to be seen abusing their powers. You don't want a Jedi walking down the street in Coruscant like blowing people away, and they're like.
So Candy said, "So Queen, can we agree Disney ruined Star Wars?"
I'll let you guys
Emma said, "I hope they do a season 2 so we can see what tricks Green Baldy's got up her sleeve." That's the other thing.
Great.
I want to see more of an Estra. Queen said, "Hey, I never said that, but yes, they like to stick their fingers in because they are ultimately a multi-million-dollar company. Plus, they bought Star Wars, and without Disney, we wouldn't be getting Star Wars content right now. So I think we need to."
So we talked about this the other day. What is arguably some of the best Star Wars you've seen? Mandalorian, right? Recently?
Since Disney bought it.
What is the coolest Luke Skywalker scene we've seen on camera or on film?
Mandalorian.
I'm sorry, it's the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Argue all you want that the rise of Skywalker and the Last Jedi killed Luke. I'm sorry, Mandalorian, that season 2 finale made Luke so cool.
Yeah. So then when we cut out there for a second, sorry and thank you for staying here, everybody.
Really appreciate it.
We couldn't hear for a second, blah, blah, blah.
So it was creepy. Okay, so you're Candy Daddy. So it was funny. When I was watching, I was trying to justify that, like, no, he's good. He's good. It's a good actor. Then I turned to Colin and I said, this guy was the actor in Squid Games. He was not a hero or a good person in that. Like,
so why'd they cast him?
Right? So Emma's right. Saul was not supposed to be Obi-Wan. He's supposed to be this, like, little bit, like, self-serving, little bit, like,
kind of like Qui-Gon.
Was Qui-Gon self-serving, or was Qui-Gon...
Well, Qui-Gon was acting on his own self-interest, that's for sure.
Because he felt that the Jedi had lost their way.
But he also was like, I guess, he did feel like the Jedi had lost their way. But when it came to Anakin, he was like, I'm going to train this kid whether you say yes or no, right?
But now we're seeing why you don't train older people.
Yeah.
Because you train May, she doesn't take to it, she has the abilities, and now you've just trained a dark side user.
Yeah.
So I get why they say, like, oh, you're too young to train. Because the Jedi almost have to, like, indoctrinate these kids. Be like, no, this is how you use your powers. We're for good. You have to train them from an age up.
So, I didn't find him creepy, said Queen, but I do think his fixation was for himself. It is my time to have a student, and it was just all about progressing himself.
100%. Yeah. It was, he wanted a Padawan, and he wanted her.
He didn't care about saving her. He wanted to use her to further himself in his role as a Jedi.
100%.
Well said, Queen.
100%.
But that's a good thing. We're seeing the not perfectness of the Jedi. That's what we want out of a show. The
Jedi all shouldn't be flawless, perfect beings. Exactly. Because then the robots.
Candy, I will totally agree with you. The pit bot was pointless. Like Ryan said, they need to have a furry guy. They need to have a droid sidekick. They need to have this. They need this.
Mark my words, we're going to see a droid toy that the head pops up and has a bunch of stuff.
It's like Lola. Em said Osha and May being so different in personality, but being clones, basically. It would have been cool if at the end they came together in the Force and made one balanced person instead of two opposite beings. So that would have been interesting.
Instead of them coming together, what I was really hoping for is they, not like physically like they join together, but I wanted to see a fight where she ignites and May ignites, and they're both like, because they're the same person, they're both in the same stance.
Yeah.
And when they start attacking and stuff, their movements are all like it's one person attacking.
Well, they did that with the fist fight.
She was fighting each other.
Very similar.
Yes, so it was fighting yourself. But I wanted to see them come together and fight someone as a team.
Okay, that would have been cool.
Because that would have been really neat, where it's like they are the same person. They know each other so well. She's like, I'm going to swing high, and the other one's like, I'm swinging low because I know you're going high. So in the movement, it's like it's like one person with two blades going together.
Sure.
That is a great comment. That's what we needed to see. We needed to see them come together. The ending was atrocious. The mind wipe, we don't need her. Why in the holy hell would you not have brought your sister with you? The whole point of this was getting your sister back.
There was only 2 seats in the ship.
She can sit on your lap. She can sit on Pierre's lap.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
So Queen said, "Do you like Chopper to your candy?"
Oh, okay.
And then we got a new viewer here, Bite Hacker. Disney is woke. Enough said. And Saber Fight. If you stay long enough, we might be able to do some saber fighting for you.
Okay, so we said that Disney's not woke; they're profit driven. So it's not any better, but it's like, how do we make more money?
Yeah.
A woke agenda is nothing. It's profit agenda. How do we make more money?
Yeah.
We're going to appeal to different crowds, different people. So sometimes I personally feel like when they say it's the woke agenda, you're not identifying, like, that's an over-encompassing thing. That's not identifying. No, Disney's trying to be too profit driven and trying to appeal to, you could say that like they're trying to appeal to too many people. That's valid. I think that woke kind of veers off sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Look at the strong female characters. Leia, Padme, Jyn Erso. These are all strong female, and they're not a woke agenda. They're just like, hey, here's a really strong character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It's arguable that Leia in A New Hope is a stronger character than Luke Skywalker is. He's a whiny farm boy.
100% she is at that point.
But she's like, I'm a leader. I'm facing down this Imperial warlord and this Sith fighter, and like, I'm not going to get many.
Stands face to face with Vader.
Right? You're going to torture me? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Leia's awesome. You got to love Leia. We finally got caught up on the comments there. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us.
Chopper isn't a droid. Chopper's a character. Chopper has a personality. Chopper does stuff for the story. Yes. So, what was this Pip droid's name?
Pip. Pip.
God.
So did Pip before his wipe, wouldn't you say?
Sorry? I'm just...
So did Pip before his wipe, wouldn't you say?
Oh, that Pip had a personality.
Yeah.
So why wipe him then?
Well...
You mind wiped a person, you mind wiped a droid. I didn't dig it. So if you mind wiped Pip, why did he do anything for May? What
do you mean?
Remember how she mind wipes him?
Yeah.
And then she's like using him as a tool to break out and like to stun and do all this stuff? What would have been a better story is she doesn't mind wipe him and Pip thinks it's Osha because they're the same person and a droid can't tell the difference.
Sure.
That would have been a better story.
Good. Yeah, but see, that's where this show is. Everything's not perfect.
I'm saying that. You could have had polish on it. You could have had another team of writers come through that aren't Disney executives that are like, oh, well, I would change these in the story so they flow better.
Yeah.
Wiping Pip did nothing. Because he still gets used and she still uses him. You could have had it being that, he thinks it's May and he's doing stuff. And
I feel like everything we've talked about tonight has been nothing serious. Right?
Not game-breaking.
No, and that's why I feel like the hate for the show is unwarranted, because Pip is not the reason the show sucks. Basil's not the reason the show sucks. Well, the show doesn't suck, but
the show sucks because it doesn't have enough Basil.
I feel like people are grabbing at straws to find things to hate, and we said that when we first started, and the big YouTubers are fueling that. Their
negativity gets more common. Bro, I bet you if
the guy at the show this weekend... Oh my God, the guy at the show this weekend. Let's story time real quick, all right? So I was at an event this weekend selling lightsabers, and this guy comes up and he goes, I'm looking for Star Wars stuff that's not the ACOLYTE. And I was like, well, we don't have any ACOLYTE merchandise here, so you're all good to browse, and if you have any questions, let me know. And he goes, I think the ACOLYTE just really ruined Star Wars. And me, being someone who liked the ACOLYTE, wasn't going to sit there and argue with him, but I was like, what made you say that? He goes, well, did you hear that the lightsabers are now mood rings? And I was like, what?
Okay.
I was like,
how many people have used that exact word? Dude, lightsabers are mood rings.
It's because Theory's got 3-point-something million subscribers, and they all just follow his every word like he's friggin' a gospel or something. Like,
they bled the crystal like they do in comics that people love. And I'm sorry, did you not? And I would love to talk to him. Did you not watch the show when the lightsaber gets broken and the crystal gets cracked?
Yeah.
So it's a weakened crystal, and her hatred just pours through her.
So I was like, what makes you say that? And he goes, well, didn't you hear that lightsabers are now mood rings? And I said, that's when I was like, okay. I was like, that's not how it works. I was like, oh, she didn't just get mad and it changed color. When she's happy, it's not going to turn blue again. That's not how it works. That's how a mood ring works, right?
Yeah.
Okay? No. Osha just saw the man that killed her mother, hid all of the information that would have...
Lied to her about everything.
Lied to her about absolutely everything. Shunned her from the Jedi. Didn't train her right. Basically ruined her life.
Abandoned her, yeah.
Came into her life as a child.
Just used her.
Yeah.
I want you as a Padawan. You're no good.
So all of this was just revealed to her. There's an overbearing amount of anger and hate that she's been bottling up since a child, which she just told May about. She goes, I got kicked out of the Jedi because I was so full of hate, right? And I was trying... Osha's a bad person trying to be good. And this was her moment of, no, I'm not a good person. Yeah. I'm a bad person.
I sent you, there was a meme that was really funny that said, you have to sacrifice your soul to join the dark side.
Yeah.
And it's her force-choking soul.
Yeah.
And it's like, they couldn't have picked it, like, it was like more on the point, like...
Yeah, and so she's clearly very powerful because she's made from a virgins in the Force, which is not a terrible thing. Plagueis and Palpatine had to get their damn ideas somewhere, okay? So
Anakin wasn't
if George made this, then nobody would hate it. I'm still doubling down on that. But where was I going with this? I just got real sidetracked.
Okay, so she's bad, trying to be good, and she shows her true colors.
She bled her hatred into the crystal to turn it red.
Now wait, whose lightsaber was it?
Saul's.
So she bled Saul's crystal as the ultimate F you to Saul. Yeah.
And not only that,
I'm going to take your saber, I'm going to bleed it red, and I'm not even going to strike you down with it. I'm going to choke you.
Everyone says that, like, why didn't Anakin's saber turn red during episode 3? Well, one, if we're going to get right down to it, it's because red crystals were synthetic at the time. But I like, honestly, personally, as a Star Wars fan, I like the bleeding of a crystal better than I do a synthetic crystal. Call me crazy. Anakin was a good person doing bad things at the time.
He was conflicted.
He was not in the right headspace. He was not fueled in hate like Osha was. He was hating what he was doing. He was crying after he was killing the younglings. He didn't like what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't like turning on the Jedi. He didn't like turning on Obi-Wan. He didn't like killing the younglings. He didn't like choking Padme out.
I'm bringing peace to my empire.
Yeah, he thought he was doing the right thing. He wasn't doing it out of hatred like Osha was. And people were like, it took a lot of Vader to bleed his kyber crystal. Vader was still becoming Vader. He was still partially Anakin at the time. Osha's fully indulged in her dark side emotions at this point, and it's Soul's crystal. That crystal's got to bleed easier when she's killing Soul.
And it's cracked, it's damaged. Like,
craziness, dude. I think this was one of the best scenes we've gotten in Star Wars in a freaking long time. Like, the close-up of the blood bleeding into the crystal, like, dude, what more did you want? What more could you have asked for than a live-action crystal bleeding?
No, she turned to the dark side.
Yeah, if it was a mood ring, it'd turn back blue.
And it was like how she was so accepted by Khmer, his teachings and stuff. She's like, I've been lied to my entire life. My entire life I've been lied to. I've been used by other people, and like the guy who has ruined everything is right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little mad.
Yeah.
I'm a little, gonna take this out on you.
And it came full circle, right? It was his reason that she was that powerful.
Oh, so is this the last one we were here?
No, we are down here. Yeah, but for $180 million, the show sold should have been better.
Okay, so I talked about this one. It's because you did a show. You spent too much money making a show. If they had made a movie, a 2.5-hour movie, you're not going to spend $180 million. Because you spent $180 million to film 6 hours of footage or whatever it was.
Yeah.
A movie's 2.5 hours.
Again, though, I feel like, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people which aren't as vocal. I haven't made any posts. I haven't went and reviewed anything. So my review's not on there. And I'm sure there's 100 million people out there that are like me that haven't reviewed or done anything, right? I think the show was good and the pacing was good. And week after week, I was so freaking excited to come sit here and watch this episode.
It would be like late, like we'd both be at work and be like,
dude, I was so excited week after week, and I haven't felt that. And maybe it was because of our event and what we made of it and chatting with the fans and everything and what it all become. But I'm so sad it's over because
it was a fun story.
I loved it, dude. I loved it. I think this was Disney's best show yet.
We talked about this. Mandalorian is a good show, but each episode is its own story. It's episodic. You can just watch one to the next.
Yeah.
Mandalorian season 3 became very much of a storyline you had to follow, and people didn't enjoy that as much.
Yeah.
You know, like it was genuinely slowed down or things were being forced in. Where this was just like, man, a really good story. I couldn't wait to figure out what was happening.
Kind of fitting that Pip got wiped and May did too. It's like full circle as it can get. It's fair.
Yeah, which I get that, but again, I think it would have been cool if Pip wasn't wiped.
I agree with you there. I think that would have been cool.
You know, and that could have, because you could have had that too, where like Pip is listening to her and there's no explanation, and then at the end of the show they're like, "You're the same person."
Yeah.
He's reading your biometrics. He thinks you're. You know what I mean? So does that mean, is this foreshadowing that Osha will get everything back, or that Osha will because Pip, even though he was wiped, kept working for her? So is this like
maybe? I think too. If this was a one and done season, I think they wouldn't have done the mind wipe. I think they would have killed all the Jedi there because that's kind of what should have happened. I felt like
Who survived though?
Chimera, Osha, and May.
But there's no Jedi.
What do you mean?
Like you said, that all the Jedi should have died.
Yeah, everyone like Vanestra and the squad that she brought. Chimera, Osha, and May should have killed them.
That was another point that we talked about during the show. I felt like that was a rewrite because they brought all these Jedi to the planet and then nothing happened there.
Yeah.
And
it's a good point.
I was sure that there was another scene in the trailer of more Jedi igniting sabers.
Okay, so Candy said if it turns back blue in season 2, if it does, Candy,
how do you feel?
I am on board with you, and it is a mood ring, and then I will be boycotting that as well. But until we get that, I think it was amazing.
What happens if it struggles? If she goes to ignite it and it's...
I wouldn't like that either.
It's like cracking, like the Kylo Ren, like red, and then like kind of shows like that, like a little shot of like.
I wouldn't like that.
So yeah, so I agree with you. So it's bled, it's red,
it's red.
It's it.
Yeah,
you're done.
It can be brought back, but then it's white, like Ahsoka.
Oh,
right.
So that's a great point then, Mason. Yeah. So you could,
if it comes white, that's different because we're following lore. If she turns it back blue, then yeah, then you have a reason to be mad.
That's a great point. I like that.
Okay, so I really like this comment. Queen Fire said, do you have any theories on where the show will go next season? Make your guesses now and check back in when the season is released. I think we're going to get, if we get a second season, I think we're going to get a lot more of Osha and Chimera and Plagueis doing some training. I think, maybe not what I think, but what I would like to see is Plagueis and Palpatine. I would like to see maybe Plagueis.
You want Palpatine, like as a cameo, as a full...
I would like to see Plagueis and Chimera and Osha, whatever they're going to do with that. I mean, Osha, I don't even really care about. Chimera and Plagueis, I would like to see them grow up.
Osha.
I don't.
She's a force being.
Yeah, but I don't. I just don't. I should like that. If that was one thing the show did bad, it was the main characters were not the best characters. I care way more about Chimera than I do Osha. I think he's a way better character than Osha is.
Okay.
So I would like to see Plagueis and Chimera do some training, and then maybe Plagueis find Palpatine and have to put the two of them up against each other.
So, but would Plagueis accept her because it's a rule of 2? Chimera should be his.
Yeah, but we had Ventress, right? Ventress was an assassin. Maybe she's an acolyte, right? Like she's not a Sith. She's an assassin or a tool that Plagueis is going to use.
That the lore is that he's building up his forces. He has one apprentice. Maybe Chimera isn't even his apprentice. Maybe Chimera is just an assassin. Or
and I think I would like to see either Plagueis kill Chimera or shun him and Osha, and maybe they go start the Knights of Ren. I would like to think too that Plagueis would be mad at Chimera because he's not evil enough. Chimera doesn't seem like he's just doing what he wants to do. So he said that I'm just going to wield my power the way I want to wield it.
So part of my thought is I know that there's a reason why Chimera was on that planet getting cortosis. We're going to see a reasoning for that. I think the helmet creation was for him to hide from Plagueis. Because when he puts it on, you can't read his mind. He can't keep his thoughts. I think he's hiding from Plagueis in that aspect.
Okay.
Where he's like, my true emotions, you can't read me. You know
Interesting.
I mean? I'm your acolyte. I'm
That's
your
cool.
apprentice, but like, I have my own goals.
Yeah.
Because all the Sith do.
Yeah.
Every Sith wants what they want.
Yeah.
And he even says it, like, the Jedi would call me Sith.
Maybe Chimera would think he's ready to take Plagueis' place and go to kill him, and Plagueis is just going to mop the floor with him and Osha. That'd be cool, too.
I mean, there's a lot that can be done.
Season 2, I think it's going to be focused more on the Sith and Plagueis, and I think that's exactly what we wanted out of this show, and I think we just need to not hate it so much and give it that time to have that season 2.
Do you want another story? How, like, this was a murder mystery, who done it? Do you want them to set up another, like, how were they created? And then, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then,
I just want Sith stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's like, how were the girls created? And then we can see that, like, yeah, the witches did it, but they were influenced by maybe Plagueis and Palpatine. I
saw that there was a theory that Plagueis was there during their ritual ceremony because there's like a hooded figure where you don't see his face.
I've heard that one, yeah.
And that I would be cool with if they wanted to go back and do that and be like, hey, that was Plagueis, and he actually had a hand in creating them the whole time.
That would make sense, right?
It would make total sense.
So,
Plagueis was too old, should have been like 8 at this time. Okay, but why does that matter? Like, why does that matter? Why does it actually matter? Like, we have never seen this character on screen before. And age really doesn't have anything to do with him as a character. It was never like Anakin was different, right? If you went and changed Anakin's age and was like, hey, he was actually 15 which they originally wanted. When Qui-Gon found him.
I need a younger kid.
Sure. But we've never seen Plagueis on screen, so why does it actually matter? Okay. Lore matters, he says, but that was Legends, right? Disney has made their own lore.
Okay, here's my thing, and I'm not belittling your comment. We're arguing alien species. So science fiction is about the unknown and like suspending disbelief. I think the exact, I had a note here that we'll go to later is don't know the best way to say this. Is it teaching us something new? Is it making us think introspectively? It doesn't matter his age. He's cooler as an older character.
Yeah.
As a Sith that may live 200-300 years, it makes him that cooler because he's got that much more experience.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to have a set age. It's like Ki-Adi-Mundi. Everyone was like losing their mind over him. He didn't need to be in the show, but it doesn't break anything. For all we know, his species lives hundreds of years. Grogu lives 50 in a child. Yoda's 900. Like, we don't know. So to me, having a Sith that is older than a human can be is even cooler.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's seen stuff. And even, let's humor me, he could be 8. Grogu's 50 and looks like a child.
Yeah.
Maybe he grows differently.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
He said if this show was just Sith, it could have been good. Yeah, I think we want... yeah, that's good. We want a show that's very dark side centered, but I also don't think that would be profitable from Disney's eyes. And they don't want to push the Sith, right? They want to push the Jedi because the Jedi are good.
A Sith show has to be like an R-rated show.
Yeah, and Disney's not ready to give us that yet, right?
I'm sorry. Did no one watch the Acolyte and the scene where a Sith snapped a Jedi's neck?
The Acolyte?
This show.
Oh, yeah. When he
How
got
many
Yord.
Characters in Star Wars have had their neck snapped without a Force choke? They took a Jedi and snapped his neck. They took Jackie and stabbed her 3 times.
Yeah.
That was pretty like...
Okay, so that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Thank you for bringing that up. Everybody's so quick to hate on Disney stabs not killing anybody, which I'm on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
But nobody has praised Disney for killing Jackie after she got stabbed.
They killed characters.
Good job, Leslie Headland. Good job, Leslie Headland. Good job, the Acolyte.
They killed characters that we weren't expecting. Yep. Indara is this wicked Jedi Master dies in the first scene to like a poison knife in the heart. And it's like, well, wow.
Yep.
Kalnock, everyone's like, man, how could they kill him? Because you were all expecting him to be alive.
Yeah.
Let's subvert expectations.
Exactly.
He's dead.
Dude, I think everything about this show, sorry, not everything, I think 90% of this show was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, think about all the cool, I'm just thinking all the cool lightsabers. We got a dual lightsaber throw. He threw 2 of them.
Yep, you're totally right, Queen Fireheart. The shish kebab thing. That was also amazing.
Now, here's the other thing. Not only does he shish kebab them, he then takes their heads off right afterwards.
Yep.
it does a Disney thing where like it pans out so you don't see it, but you know very clearly he takes their heads off.
Okay, so you're gonna have this probably. Queen said, "What was the rating of this show?"
So the IMDb, sorry, the Rotten Tomatoes was an 80% critic rating and a 17% audience rating. So from that 80% critic rating, 90 critics found it fresh. So it was over 50%. 22 found it under. Mm-hmm. So the majority of critics were like, this is a positive show.
They're already making the Sith not that bad, so might as well. I get what you're saying there. They're making them look less Sithy. I'm totally on board with you. I would love to see a show from the Sith perspective that would make them look not terrible.
Okay, but so you know what you need to do then? You need to go back even further in the timeline.
To what point?
You need to go back to when the Sith actually exist, or like the start of the Sith.
The Sith Empire?
Right? Because then you can show a lot of them, and show a lot of them being evil, and like...
Until we get more... Okay, so you're going to hate me for this, guys. You're going to hate me for this, and just be prepared. Until we get more shows like The Acolyte, I don't think they're ready to do a Bane show. And that's what I would love.
This was
a trilogy... Sorry, not a show. A trilogy of movies that go with the books perfectly. Take the books and make the movies, because those books were freaking phenomenal.
I think you can use the books as a guideline, but I think doing a one-to-one does a disservice, because you could read the book.
Sure, but so not one-to-one, but like, don't ruin that story, because it was so good.
And do it through there.
And I think that's another reason people dislike the sequels so much, was because we had story to go off of, and they changed it.
What did I say to you the other day? I was like, after watching this, I was like, man, because we've seen the Jedi at like their peak and the decline, and we've seen Phantom Menace where they're really starting to decline. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we got a new movie on like the new Jedi Order? And then you looked at me and you're like, yeah, and Rey's the leader. And I thought, oh crap, they are doing that.
Yeah.
Like, we wanted that Luke Skywalker story.
Yeah.
We wanted to see him train a new class of Jedi. So even though everyone hates Rey, I still think that could be a cool movie.
Yeah.
Because she could be making a new class of Jedi that aren't selfish, that aren't about stealing kids and doing all this sort of stuff. And like,
John McGroby said, bring back Jar Jar Disney. I want to see him with a lightsaber. Well, you're in luck, because of the new Lego game. Lego movie, we've got Darth Jar Jar. So
Colin was a big fan of that trailer when I showed him. When he saw Darth Jar Jar,
anyways,
he was as excited as when he saw Plague.
Queen said the RPG, the R-rated PG. Yeah, basically, the PG-13, whatever.
In PG-13, you're allowed to drop one F-bomb. I would have loved that.
Like, Star Wars has other swear words, though.
No, I know, but it's just like, come here, like, shish kebabs them, chops off the head, and then you see the next Jedi go, oh, and like...
Yeah. Candy said, yeah, but a flower will grow in poop. That doesn't change the fact that it's surrounded by poop. The Sith Empire was evil.
Okay, so you know what's a really fun thing with the Sith Empire? If you've ever played the games, The Old Republic, the MMORPG, you can play as the Sith Empire, but you can be light side. Which is a really, really cool. If you ever want to try it, you're surrounded by evil people doing evil things, and your decisions are not necessarily good, but like they're smarter ones. So be like, we need to kill this person. And you're just like, we're not killing him. Like, he's a valuable asset. Like, you know, that could be cool.
So what I was trying to get at earlier, though, is like with the Bane thing, we have the story written, right? And so that's why I think people would be upset. Like, I would be upset if they ruined that. But for the Acolyte, we didn't really have a story written. Like, it's changed very few things. Like, we didn't go back and change Plagueis being Palpatine's master or anything. We changed his birth date, right? Like, that's all we've done so far. Nothing else big has changed. Yoda being told, we don't know what he's been told. Maybe he was told exactly what you said earlier. We just never saw it, right? Maybe that's the beginning of season 2. So we can't make justification on that yet, because we don't know what happened. They haven't ruined the set story, because there was no story in this timeline. So just enjoy the new story.
We said that when we watched the trailer. We're like, they don't have to tie it into anything.
Exactly.
It could just be a story.
So Queen said, but don't you think this show will be Sith focused when Ocean and Chimera go off together? And that's okay. So that's what I was just about to get at. Is like, even if that's the case, I'm ready for the show. I don't need a Plagueis show. I haven't got one yet. I would like one, but I'm ready for whatever show they're ready to give us.
Focus. It's still going to involve the Jedi, because they're still hunting down.
Definitely.
So it's not an entirety of the Sith. Like, it's not just them. It's like, we're going to see them, why they're not good, why you shouldn't be manipulating and like creating life out of the Force.
But I feel like this season kind of bounced between different perspectives, right? But it was mainly like the Jedi and Osha and May's perspective. I would like to see Chimera and Osha and maybe the Jedi. Or Plagueis, Chimera, and Osha, and then the Jedi. And I think that we could just go from different perspectives, right? Like, so maybe we do get a Sith-focused show, but we still have to have the Jedi, like you said. And maybe that's just a double perspective kind of thing, where the Jedi are on one side and the Sith are on the other, because we don't really get that much from Star Wars, right?
We just get that the Sith are bad guys.
Yeah, and we get a lot of Jedi perspective.
We get 2 lines of Darth Maul dialogue and fighting.
Yeah.
Cool though.
Should have been Sith from the get-go. I agree. We all want a Sith show, but like Ryan said, it has to be R-rated to do it right. It has to be R-rated to do it right.
And it's okay. So a Sith show is R-rated and it's adult-oriented, like Andor.
What was the rating? She said. That's what she wanted to know. I'm guessing it was
PG-13.
No, it was probably. Look it up quick. It was probably E for everybody. Like all Star Wars are. They're kids shows. If a Sith Empire show is made, I want it to be about a person living in the Sith Empire, not Sith focused like Andor. Elaborate. I didn't get too far into Andor. Maybe Ryan can break that comment down for us a bit. As a woman who loves Chimera, something that was male fans will complain about, but I would love to see is sexual tension during training between Osha and Chimera. I think we all want to see that. I don't think that's something that many men would complain about. Like,
it was rated 14+.
Really?
So, yeah. So
14+? What?
I think the whole thing, there's violence. I think the whole thing with the Sith is that, like, they give into this stuff. So the Jedi don't have physical attachment. So it would be normal for like Chimera and Osha to have a relationship.
Yeah.
To be.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because they're not like, oh, we have to stay away from this stuff.
Yeah.
Can't do that. They're like, no. It's probably going to make us more powerful.
Well, Osha was, and Chimera was basically said, like, this is the way of the Jedi. Don't let, like, your feelings be trapped. Like, let into your feelings. Let into your emotions.
They make you stronger. Because, you know what would be really cool? They fall in love. Plagueis kills Chimera. And she goes banana ramading-dong batch, like, because it's like...
That's Sith, bro.
Right?
Oh, that's good.
So then she grabs his saber, and she's just wailing away at this guy, and he's like... And we could see, like, he beats Chimera, like, single-handedly. It's crazy. And she's just, like, screaming, like, Super Saiyan just, like, snacking away. And then it's like Palpatine comes in and, like, stabs her in the back or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's such a good theory, dude. That's so good. And
is that a Star Wars theory?
No, that's way better. That's OG Star Wars theory. I hate him so much. Anyways.
I dislike all the negativity. I think when you create a negative ground and a negative environment, you fester that, like, negativity and that, like, and I don't think it's good for anyone.
No.
If you don't like this show, it's fine.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Stop watching it. Don't watch our podcast. Just move on in your life.
Well, watch our podcast because we like to debate with you guys.
100%. But like, if
don't promote the hate.
Yeah,
we don't need to go around like the guy at the show this weekend that came out was, I hate the ACOLYTE. That ruined Star Wars. Let people enjoy it. You don't need to go around and do that. Join groups to talk about the hate if you want to do that. They're out there.
What was the
join our podcast and vent to us so we can debate you. Like,
we did a convention, you and I, a little while ago. Where I met with Cassie. She was the she was in the Hut Killer.
Yeah.
The Hut Slayer. That's what she referred to it as. And it was funny because she had said that at that time Bad Batch was her favorite show. And I remember right after that interview, you and I looking at each other being like, we couldn't even finish it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like going to take away from her.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When people come up to me and they go, I love the sequels, I don't go, they sucked. Let's debate it right now.
You're stupid. You don't know Star Wars.
I'm super glad you enjoy it because I didn't. And I'm glad that somebody's getting some enjoyment out of that content. Like, I'm not the type of person that is going to dislike you because of your opinion on Star Wars. If you like Star Wars, let's talk because I love Star Wars.
That's what we started this channel as, because we didn't always agree on stuff.
Yeah.
And even tonight, it's like, you like this, I like that, but we like it.
Yeah. We're Star Wars fans.
Yeah, we're a common, like, you know what I mean?
I totally agree. I know y'all hated the water scene, but I was all for it. That's fair. I didn't hate it. Like,
the water scene?
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was not.
So to me, you know what it showed you? There's a lot of there are a lot of themes in that, but it showed you that he was as vulnerable as he could be. He was literally naked.
Yeah.
He had no weapon. He had nothing. he was at his most vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
But he was still powerful. He was still intriguing
Confident.
to her.
Yeah.
And she was like taken back by it.
Yeah.
So to me, I love that scene.
Yeah.
Because you saw Yord in the same position where he was, you know, virtually the same thing, and he was like shy and embarrassed and like, well, the Jedi shouldn't be seen like this. And then Khmer's like, no, this is natural.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a bath because I just slaughtered a bunch of things, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave all my stuff here, and I'm as vulnerable, and I have no fear of you.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Well said.
You know what I mean?
Candy said, now we have Disney doing R-rated movies, so we might get that. Deadpool this weekend. Super absolutely excited for this. We just need someone like Ryan Reynolds to come in and force it upon Disney, which
okay, so
I'm not against at all.
We'll talk about this where you need a driving force. Disney has enough that they can release an R-rated Disney series or Star Wars series just for certain fans.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And like,
I totally agree.
It's on Disney Plus and you need an adult, whatever. Like,
yeah.
You can have that.
Yeah.
Andor is very much an adult-oriented show without there being sex, violence,
sure.
blah, blah, blah. But the themes are very adult. The themes are very... Yeah, I'd be all down for that.
Yeah.
Or even like a Star Wars Vision-esque show where it's like maybe a cartoon. I know you don't like them, but you can show more violence.
I don't not like them. I prefer live action.
Oh, for sure. But you could do a Star Wars story where it's like, you know, Tales of the Jedi, and it's like, or Tales of the Sith or something cool, and have more blood and violence and more explosion, because that's the medium and you can get away with it.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And that could be like the entry where like, oh, hey, it's a PG-13 or an R-rated cartoon, and then like, oh yeah, okay, it was accepted, great, now we're gonna do a movie.
Yeah. Y'all are writing a better story than Disney could dream. Appreciate that. That's candy. And then he said, well, the sequels did suck. And I'm totally agreeing with you. The sequels did suck for me and for you and maybe for Ryan and tons of other fans out there. But there's a whole generation that is now part of the Star Wars community because of the sequels. And now they're enjoying stuff like the Acolyte and Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi and the originals and the prequels and Andor. And we're creating new Star Wars fans with new Star Wars content. And we don't have to like everything. And I don't think we should like everything, because then it's not diverse enough.
You're sheep. Yeah, if you're just like, this is all great.
Right? And well, not just that, but I'm like, it needs to have diversity, right? Star Wars is an all-encompassing story, like The Princess Bride. We're going back to that.
Right?
It needs to have everything so everyone can enjoy it. And you're not going to like every single thing about it. And if you do, that's pretty crazy, right? Like, good for you. I wish I could do that. But nobody likes everything about like, you don't like everything about somebody. You don't like, there's something about something that you just don't like. It's
allowed. And
you're life, dude. It's like, I don't know.
It's, you know, even in the sequels, I'm not a fan, but there's always something that I can find and enjoy. I still, not a great setup, but like when Yoda and Luke are reunited and like Yoda's hitting him with a stick, that hit like a nostalgic level of like, ooh.
Sure.
And it was Puppet Yoda, you're like, ooh. Terrible everything else, but like, I enjoyed that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Seeing Grandmaster Luke in like the white robe and like the clean, I was like, okay.
Yep.
We didn't get what I wanted with him, but like, there's some stuff there.
But back to what I was saying earlier, you're not out there promoting your dislike of the sequels, right? That's negative. I don't think anybody with a platform should be doing that. I think promoting negativity is never a good thing, whether it's about something that you're passionate about, like Star Wars, or not. I think we should look at the good, find the good, and be happy with the good, and we can say what we dislike, but we don't need to make 35 videos after the Acolyte, crapping on the Acolyte to make money.
It's so bad. So we were going to get into it, and I don't think we're going to tonight, but there's an article online, medium.com. The artist is MG Jasper, and it was 10 essential elements for movie reviews. So just really quick, I'm going to run through the 10 things. It's plot, attraction, theme, acting, dialogue, cinematography, editing, soundtrack, directing, and it factor. So he has essentially a list of 10 things. That's the merit of a movie. When you're rating a movie, you're looking at these 10 things, and when I see 1-star reviews or like this hate, it's like, you're not
breaking it down.
You're not looking at this, like, you're just so angry about it because of something that you can't get past that.
Yeah.
The cinematography was great. The choreography was great. You know, set designs were nice. Costumes were cool. You know, they were different. I liked the feel of the Jedi. Like, they had different robes, they had different outfits.
Diversity of characters, the aliens, and the like you said, different clothing, different sabers.
So there is some good that can be taken from this series,
Of
no
course
matter how bad it was. You know what I mean?
They ruined Luke.
Dude, we know. Okay, yeah, trust me.
Plot.
He's the Anakin guy. I'm the Luke guy. I still think Luke is the chosen one. You can argue me on that one. But yeah, they didn't do Luke any favors in that movie.
Luke's definitely not the chosen one.
Okay, so big thing with the sequels, there was no direction. It was two different directors that had kind of taken over. There was no kind of thought. This show had multiple directors but one writer. So there was one story written out, and they had people direct different episodes that had strengths. Oh, hey, you're better at fight choreography. You're doing this episode, but you still had one good narrative. The sequels didn't have a narrative.
No,
they were all over the place.
They were all over the place. Queen Fireheart said, out of curiosity, I googled who the fight coordinator was. Christopher Clark Cohen was the fight coordinator, or was the action designer. His first Star Wars was Rogue One, and then he also did Solo and Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, that's the
which
one.
Is kind of crazy because all of those I feel like were kind of lackluster in their action departments.
Really? So I think Shang-Chi is the best combat in a Marvel movie.
That's a hot take.
Winter Soldier has some really good fight scenes with the knife drop and stuff, but Shang-Chi is the best.
You watched Endgame, yeah?
But who fights with hands in Endgame?
Bro, they beat up Thanos. A bunch of them.
But they're not the hand-to-hand combat.
Some of it is.
Shang-Chi is a martial arts movie at its core, and that's what they do very well.
Mm.
It is, when he's fighting on the bus and he's using...
I saw it, and nothing. No part of it made me think this is great hand-to-hand combat. Which maybe I need to go and rewatch it because I've seen it once or twice and I never dived into it. But
there was a physicality that you could believe. The actor Simu Lee, which I loved. You felt when he's jumping up and when he's throwing those kicks, you felt power to it. Where it's not like he's swinging a plastic hammer that they're going to change. So Queen is right that this guy knows how to do lightsaber choreography. Yeah. He knows how to do hand-to-hand combat, and you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Sorry, off track, but I love the fights a lot. The fights I thought were absolutely phenomenal. Hand-to-hand combat is not the same as brawling. So would you consider Avengers Endgame brawling then?
Yeah.
Okay,
they're using weapons and stuff. You know what I mean?
I love the finesse in the Acolyte. Right? The fights were perfect.
Even the one scene that you kind of questioned at first, but I interpreted that it was a slow-mo when he jumps out of the bridge and he goes after him. I took that as a slow-mo of
it was definitely a slow-mo.
A graceful I'm getting away from you, and then it was oh, holy crap, you're coming after me. It was that moment where we're taking a breather, and then they hit the ground and they just start fighting.
I saw it differently than you did. I saw it as they were both trying to see into the other one. What are you doing? Okay. What's your move? You know what I mean? It was definitely slow-mo, but it was Soul's what's your move, bro? And he's I'm coming at you, and they're trying to figure each other out is kind of how I took that. The fights were amazing. I totally agree with you.
When people give this review a 1 out of 10, I'm sorry, I hate this word, but they're a troll.
Yeah.
Because that's not 1 out of 10 choreography.
I like what you said earlier. 1 out of 10 is filmed on your iPhone of your dad beating your mom or whatever.
Right? It's the worst thing in the world. I hate this. There's no editing. There's no a 1 out of 10 is our videos. No, I'm joking. But it's you know what I mean? It's just a one-shot.
10 out of 10, right, guys?
You got to think how many people were involved in a $180 million production.
No.
Designers.
I would like to see a breakdown of where the money went. That's one thing I'm kind of questionable about the show.
You'll never see, but that's
of course
those movies in general.
How can you make Phantom Menace for what, 80 million? Or not Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith for 80 million.
Well,
and then...
let's look at this. So when did Revenge of the Sith come out?
2005. Queen said, I know Star Wars is Star Wars, but I love the homages to classic Kung Fu films. The slow-mo was an homage to classic Kung Fu action films. Yes, I totally agree.
100%.
One of the best fights, I think, out of this entire show, it's going to be a controversial hot take here, Jackie and May. I loved that fight
right? Where
so
she wasn't
much.
Trying to use a saber?
Yeah, they were just beating the crap out of each other.
So sorry, just really quick. It was $80 million in 2005?
I was just shooting a number out there.
Well, so
what's the budget?
$80 million in 2005 is $120 million in 2024. There's your budget.
That's crazy.
Right? So that's what it was.
55.2 million.
Okay, let's try that one again.
So for almost a quarter.
But you got to remember, it's a quarter.
Inflation, yeah.
Okay, so that would be $83 million. Now, how long is Revenge of the Sith? 2 hours?
2.5.
How long is...
like 3.5.
Acolyte's longer than 3.5, isn't it?
30-minute episodes. 3 times 8, right?
Okay, so proportionately it makes sense then, because $55 million is $83 million, and then you're making more. And then I don't know if that budget includes marketing. I don't think it does. I think I think a lot of these studios keep the marketing budget secret. So it's like the budget of what we did with the movie. This is what it made.
Yeah.
Because there was a huge push on marketing and stuff. They had Kel Naka at like premieres and stuff. You know what I mean?
A lot of the budget is blown in pre-production, said Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did Jackie hold her own against May and Chimere? Glad you brought that up. One, I think Jackie is this show's Kenobi. So she's the most dedicated Jedi out of all of them.
Yeah.
She's the most by the book.
Zingers of a line. She's had one.
Dedicated by all means. Like, she would be one of the best saber fighters from the impression I got of her, because she puts a lot of time into it. She puts a lot of time into being the right character that she needs to be. She puts a lot of time into making sure that she's ready for whatever's going to come her way as a Jedi. She took so much control, I think it was episode 2, with the ship and coming in and arresting May. She's a freaking Padawan. Yeah. And she's the one up there saying, hey, you're under arrest. Get in line or whatever. Like,
wasn't even your denial.
I loved it. It was amazing. And so Jackie, you got to remember, was fighting for her life.
Well, okay, now, but the comment was, how did she hold her own with Chimere?
So I'm getting to that.
She didn't.
I'm getting to that. Chimere wasn't going full, right? Like, he didn't need to. I don't think he wanted to kill Jackie. I don't think he was not going to kill Jackie, clearly.
Yeah, he killed every Jedi.
He didn't go for the kill shot ever. He disappeared on them during that whole fight every time, because he wanted May, and that was the only thing he saw. He didn't want to kill Jackie until Jackie stood in front of him and was like, you're going to kill me, or you're not getting away this time. And
she pulls a second saber, right?
Yeah, but dude, the whole thing is, like, he wasn't there to kill the Jedi. He was there to kill May. And the only Jedi he killed were the ones in his way, right? He knocked Jackie down and ran away. He knocked Soul down and ran away. Because he wasn't there to kill them. He's not wasting his time on killing Jackie. Jackie was there to fight for her life. She was giving it 100%, and Chimera was giving it 20%. So that's how I think that, like, he wasn't there, I'm going to wreck you. He was just, get out of my way. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Like, that was the way I kind of took it. And then May, I think May and Jackie were a great combo. Like, she would definitely hold her own against May, right? Because May's not Chimera, clearly. And Jackie's, like, the best of that group that was brought, except Soul. Like,
okay.
So I think, yeah, Chimera took out 8 Jedi Knights. I get what you're saying. They were standing in his way, though, right? Like, he was there for May.
Shove, he just shows you how powerful he is.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of, sounds weird. I think he kind of, like, played along with her for a bit. She pulls out the other saber, and he's like, oh, you want to see a second saber? This is how you use a second saber. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Not your Jedi fancy, I'm twirling. Yeah. No, I'm going to use it to stab you. Yeah. Because that's what it's going to do.
So Chimera took out 8 Jedi Knights. Yeah, again, when they were in his way, though, because he didn't kill May when he had the chance. At that time, he had already found Osha, and May was gone with Soul, though. Yeah. Right? So it's like, he got taken away by the bugs, which was kind of dumb. But when he got back...
Okay, the bugs you could cut out from the show, right?
Sure. But when he got back, May was gone with Soul, and Osha was the only one left, right? So it's like, he was going to kill May, but he just didn't get there because of the bugs. He said, no, I think y'all forgot. Forgot what? I'm confused. You're going to have to elaborate on that a bit, Candy. But I just, I don't think that his intention was to go there to kill the Jedi. His intention was to find May, and the only reason he killed the Jedi...
because I think he did...
He cuts the cuffs off her. When? Chimera?
Cuts the cuffs off who?
May.
I don't think he was trying to kill May.
He was.
No, I think he was trying to get her back.
You think, eh?
Yeah, I don't think you would kill someone that you've trained so hard to do all this stuff.
But he said he was going to kill her. Because she was going to reveal him to the Jedi. Interesting. Then he held the saber to her head. Yeah, I definitely forgot. I don't remember that at all. Are you talking about Osha?
He smacks Osha away.
Yeah.
He's unconscious for the rest of the fight. She has no clue what's going on.
Because when he's chasing after May, and when Sol and Jackie come in, he's about to like decapitate May, and Jackie jumps in and knocks his saber out of the way.
Oh yeah, he does. He does take a swing at
And that's when Jackie dies, because Jackie's there protecting May, because she's a freaking Jedi and she doesn't want him to die. She doesn't want May to die.
I mean,
so she jumped in front of May when he was going for the kill strike to knock the saber out of the way.
So is this a difference between Kamir and Saul, that he was willing to sacrifice his apprentice because, like, hey, it wasn't working out? Where Saul's like, I'm going to sacrifice everyone just to get an apprentice?
Yeah, right? No, he wanted to kill her, no May. Yeah, I'm confused. We're going to have to go back and rewatch that episode. Maybe I am forgetting something there. I have no problem going back and watching the episode, though, because I enjoyed the show here.
There's a song called, there's a cut out right now called The Fallen Order, a 2.5 hour cut.
We'll have to watch that.
I want to take a look at that,
Yep.
see if it kind of really does condense a lot.
Definitely.
But
we've been streaming for 95 minutes here. I've been having a blast talking to you guys.
I have to thank you guys so much.
Everyone that's talked, you know who you are. We really, really appreciate you. If you're watching this after the fact, make sure you leave some comments. We can definitely cover them next week.
Or my haterade.
Well, I want to. That was good. The haterade is so good. I just want to know why everyone hates it. We've broken down our thoughts.
I think the individuals that have entered our chat are articulate, are intelligent, are saying, hey, like that M was like, I don't like the show for this reasons, but I also like this stuff, and I've enjoyed this.
I love that.
I don't think the 1 out of 10 reviewers are going to give us any sort of valid feedback.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this afterwards and you've sat through 93 minutes of this and you're like, oh, I cannot wait to like rip into them, like, if you're just going to tell us it's a 1 out of 10 and we're stupid, like, okay.
Thank you for the comment.
Appreciate it. But like, yeah, we want to know legitimate, like, what did you enjoy? What did you enjoy? What could have been better? What do you want to see in season 2?
Yeah.
Do you want a season 2?
So we're going to wrap it up things here. But before that, we have a 20% sale going on all lightsabers from Extra Life Toys and Games. So go online, Extra Life TG, XTRALIFE-TG, and get yourself a lightsaber while they're 20% off. And hopefully you can rewatch the Acolyte and have some fun with it. Of course, it just died as we were about
it's a thing.
about the clash. Here we go.
Yeah, and if it's really worth it, Colin and I can sign a saber. I mean, you know, for all that's worth.
I would love that.
But yeah, we really appreciate you guys being here. When we made this channel, Duel of the Fans, it was because we enjoyed talking to people. Yeah. And funny enough, it was at conventions that you and I were really like connecting. Even though we lived together, it was like, or in the same town, it was like, hey, conventions, we'd start talking to people. We got work, and then when we started doing the interviews, in costume. If you guys get a chance, check out our videos. So the conventions where I get to interview Star Wars cosplayers. Yeah, really entertaining to listen, you know, to what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. Highly recommend giving it a plug. We've got some other great content. Like I had the luxury of meeting the gentleman who created the first lightsaber.
That is true.
The actual Mark Hamill lightsaber prop, I had the chance to interview him, and it was an amazing experience. And even talking to him, you know, he sees the joy that fans have. Yeah. You know, that day that you brought him in and everyone that talked to him. People that love Star Wars love Star Wars. Yeah. And it brings people together. And I'd like more of that. You can say that the show wasn't great, but like, if we're fans of one thing, we should be fans together. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So
let's be a positive community. Come up with your own thoughts. Don't just listen to Star Wars Theory out there, because that's never good.
Or
Star Wars
you know what I mean? Like,
come back and be a little more positive, because the fans like you more when you're positive.
Do some more theory videos. Those were great.
Yeah, those were great. That's when we all fell in love with you. That's when you got your 3 million subscribers. So
you know what? Like, you and I talked about some theory tonight. You know, let's hear. I want to hear Theory's ideas on like what he would change the show with. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
He's got some great points. So that's a constructive way to be like, hey, I didn't like the show, but I think you could have done this better. You know.
Okay, so hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leave us your thoughts in the comments, and tune in next week at 9 p.m. for another live stream.
Yeah, we'll figure out another topic. But we really love engaging with you guys.
Yep.
So it might be a rebuttal to this to see the attention. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone in the comments.
I'm Ryan. He's Colin.
We'll see you next week.